But if you're like me, you have somewhat of a heavy foot. And Amazon Alexa, which seems a little bit like, might feel a little bit extra, but I still rock with it. I like that. I like it when car companies are trying new random stuff every single time. Again, I never would have expected Buick to have all of this stuff, to be honest. Maybe for the higher end models, but not for the simple models like this one. The ride's very smooth. Acceleration, don't do it if you don't have the all-wheel drive, especially in wet conditions. It's just gonna struggle for traction every single time. (2021) Buick Envision, the base model. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the car we're gonna be driving today, and this thing looks really good. Some quick specs. This thing is powered by a 2-liter inline-4 with a 9-speed automatic transmission, pushing around 230 horsepower and 238 pound-feet of torque. And this is what our key looks like. This thing looks classy. It is no longer that old person car, and I honestly rock with how Buick is trying to design this car these days now, at least. But doing a quick little walk around, as you can see, this thing has improved quite a bit. Beautiful LED daytime running lights, looks very fancy and very low key. You can see this thing running around in the city pretty much any day of the week, and it doesn't blend in with traffic. It stands out a little bit because of how nice and how the body lines make it stand out as well too. But overall, a very nice touch as well too. And since it's Buick, you also get your remote start, and you also get your automatic trunk gate as well. Nothing too crazy, but it's a very simple and very nice vehicle. But hopping into the inside of how Buick has designed this car, mostly cloth seats all around, nothing too crazy. A little bit of leather, and you get your cup holders over here. And if you hop inside from a comfortable driving position, you get a decent amount of leg room. And you can see this little bump. It's nothing too crazy. If you really wanted to, you could squeeze an extra person here, but yeah, it's not gonna be feasible. And I feel like this is gonna be a little bit of cost savings because there's a bit of cloth and a little bit of, I want to say, perforated leather, because this is definitely not cloth. And your little nets back here, some stitched leather and more padded leather over here, something that looks like carbon fiber, which I highly doubt it's carbon fiber, probably some plastic, and aluminum door handles, and your little speaker down here. Again, this thing's also going to be very fuel efficient as well. But hopping into the main attraction up here in the front, you get this panel decal going around. I'm not a big fan of it because you can just smear it all over and just make it look a little bit dirty. So if you want to have this trim, keep a cloth with you so that the car stays clean. I'm kind of a clean freak, so I don't like to see any of this little fingerprints going around. But again, this is what our printer looks like. Drive, park, reverse with our big gigantic backup camera. Paddle shifters in a Buick feels weird, but I rock with it. I like it. I like how they're trying to change it up a little bit and convince more people to buy it. Heated seats and heated steering wheel. Gigantic screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Response time, pretty meh, nothing too crazy. Okay, pretty quick, but nothing too crazy as well too. Our climate controls are down here, which you can all control, which I like that they didn't opt in for the little buttons that are hard to maneuver. They have like buttons and little levers, so I like that. Putting this thing to drive, we'll see how she handles on the road. I kind of have pretty good and high expectations for this car, to be honest. And we can also put your mode into sport mode, ice, or touring, which is just regular mode. There is no eco mode for this one, but just simple stuff like that. And this is the button you use. A little bit of storage over here. Still have that little butterfly door effect going on. More storage over here. And your home button. And that's pretty much it. That's almost all the storage you have, unless you want to count in these little drawer storages as well too. But big storage, that's out of the way. Put this thing into sport mode. Let's see how the 9-speed automatic transmission does in a situation like this. Overall, Ride quality seems nice, but we're gonna test it out a little bit more. It seems very easy to control this car. You don't have to put too much effort into steering this around, which I really like. And since this is like one of the lower end models, we don't get like the, what's the word, auto hold when you come to a complete stop. We do get the auto stop and go that cuts off power from the engine, so you can save a little bit more on gas. But again, you can see my gas average right now. We have an average of 9.5 liters for every 100 kilometers, which is really good. And again, I kind of expected it to be like that because it is a turbo 4-cylinder. Smooth suspension, but a little bit rough sometimes if you floor it too quickly. If you're driving regularly, you won't have this problem. But if you're like me, you have somewhat of a heavy foot. And since this one is a front-wheel drive one, we do break traction every once in a while just because it is front-wheel drive and we spin out a little bit. But the traction control does come in and save us clutch all the time. And besides having little paddle shifters in the back here, you also have your volume controls and also your skip button, so you can change radio stations and go into highway, classic, or pretty much everything without having to really take your eyes off the road, which is a pretty neat feature. I love that. I just like how Buick is trying new avenues. I remember the old ones would have like a little clock sitting around here, a little analog clock to make it look classy. Now if they've kind of dished that, they have a cool new design almost. I feel like this is new. It might not be new, but it just feels new. That's how much they're changing up stuff all the time as well. And you also get a little bit of storage with some no wireless charging pad, but you also get your USB-C port and your 12-volt port down here as well. And since we're in auto stop, there. But again, they're changing things up. It's no longer that old person vehicle that's simply analog, that just plays it safe. They're testing out new stuff, and I really rock with that. I like what they're doing, and I'm kind of impressed with it. It rides very smooth. Acceleration, don't do it if you don't have the all-wheel drive, especially in wet conditions. It's just gonna struggle for traction every single time, which may be fun for some people, but for me, I literally just take off and go. Unless the car sounds good while it's losing traction, then I'm okay with that. Yeah. Traction is not this thing's best friend if you really want to floor it, but if you're driving like a regular civilian, 9 times out of 10 you won't even encounter half of these problems too. But let's say you want to take it easy. Since there is no eco mode, you just go back into touring and it lessens down a little bit, it quietens a little bit down. You're just cruising. There really isn't that much cabin noise, but it is a slightly windy day, so take that with a little bit of grain of salt. But if you want to explore a little bit more of the features, you do have a little manual mode over here that makes you engage your paddle shifters, making you go from your 8. Again, it's not a sports car, so I'm not expecting the transmission to be lightning fast. But it is fun if you really want it to be fun. As you can see, just by the way I was driving, we went from 9.2 to a 9.5. And if you're too slow to shift your gears manually, it will downshift for you because it doesn't want to ruin itself trying to fix your mistakes or letting you make a mistake. It won't let you make that mistake. But overall, nothing too crazy about this car, and it also has Spotify, Buick Maps, OnStar, and Amazon Alexa, which seems a little bit like, might feel a little bit extra, but I still rock with it. I like that. I like it when car companies are trying new random stuff every single time. Again, I never would have expected Buick to have all of this stuff, to be honest. Maybe for the higher end models, but not for the simple models like this one. I never would have expected that. And since there's a train coming over there, I'm gonna make a 3-point turn because I don't want to wait. Or maybe the train is no longer coming here. That is so weird. That is so weird. I swear I saw those things coming down, but maybe I'm tripping. Now suspension test. Very smooth. Almost makes me tempted to say that you can take this thing off-road. I wouldn't recommend it. This car is probably not built to go off-road, but it's smooth enough that if you wanted to go off-road, you probably could. Smooth power delivery. If this was a dry road, we would do a perfect 0 to 60 time, but right now, meh. It's a little bit damp. It rained a lot yesterday, so I'll forgive it. Just give this thing good tires, and if you are in a snowy area like me in Canada, put it in snow and ice and you will be pretty much good to do anything in this car, because again, you have the height clearance, you have a decent amount of power to get you from point A to point B, and you're gonna be riding in a lot of comfort because these seats are super comfy. Like, I could fall asleep in the seats while driving. And again, we're gonna try out our cruise control before we call this video a day. And also, we have blind spot monitoring. So get our cruise control ready. This one doesn't seem to be adaptive, so keep your foot ready on the brake in case something happens in front of you, like so. Again, no adaptive cruise control, so a little bit something to get when you get the higher trim models, because again, remember, this is the base model. So if you get the higher trim model, you definitely get something a little bit nicer and probably more features, like maybe a panoramic sunroof or a little sunroof, something. But for the base model, this is really good. But anyway guys, this has been Morty in the 2021 Buick Envision. Take care guys, and peace.